Mic test, 1, 2. Good morning, everyone. Are we all good? As I don't see the screen here. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Peel Police Services Board meeting of March 24th, 2023. We will begin with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the lands which constitute the present-day region of Peel as being part of treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and Wyandot nations. We recognize these peoples and their ancestors as peoples who inhabited these lands since time immemorial. The region of Peel is home of many global indigenous peoples. We are streaming the public portion of this meeting live on our YouTube channel. If we happen to experience any technical difficulties with the live stream, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube. We will now begin the Peel Police Services Board meeting of March 24, 2023. The roll call, we have all members present here except Regional Chair Yanika and Vice Chair Samita Kohli. Are there any declaration of conflict of interest, board members? Hearing none. We will continue with the meeting. I would quickly like to acknowledge in this meeting that we have Mr. Trevor Arnold here, who's the CEO of PRPA. Trevor, thank you for being here. And congratulations for 25-year mark last night. And so as to our Deputy Chief Mark Dabat. Also, I would like to acknowledge Ms. G.T. Sahora. She is the advisor of Ministry of Solicitor General's office. Thank you for being here today. Next item on the agenda is the Chief's update. Chief, please proceed with your updates.
Thank you, Chair. And before I hand it over to Deputy Milanovic and Staff Super McKenna, I just wanted to acknowledge that we had opportunity to engage with the province on their budget announcement yesterday. We know that there is potential funding for additional guns and gangs activity in Ontario. There's subsequent funding for human trafficking, but one of the things that was also noted was the investment in, I know the board is very attuned to occupational stress injuries that our officers are experiencing. It was obviously a discussion for the board, but the funding for the first of its kind post-traumatic stress injury rehabilitation facility, which will be in Peel Region. So that is obviously a good thing. I wanted to highlight that we, as a police service and emergency services partners, will continue to partner with. And I think, Mayor Crombie, sorry.
Thanks, Chief. It was one of the largest budgets ever, in fact, so I was hoping there was some money for policing, particularly related to auto theft or guns and gangs. I know that municipalities receive funding for mental health and addictions issues. So did our police services receive additional funding to address either guns and gangs or auto thefts?
There is an announcement of 13.4 million for the province of Ontario for guns and gangs, and I believe it may be flow through from a federal level also funding coming. So and the province did announce funding for guns and gangs over 3 years. So there is some there. I do understand that there may be additional announcements, Your Worship, in the coming weeks, but the bail reform piece and parole reform is another one we as chiefs continue to ask, not just for federal legislative attention, but also for supports for our ability to help enforce that. So that does continue. There are additional calls for funding towards the illegal firearms that we've been seeing on their streets, dominantly because they're being smuggled in. So that's a continued discussion for, I know this provincial government has certainly been strong advocates for discussion at the federal level. So we're optimistic as it pertains to that. I did have a conversation with Minister Kersner recently regarding auto theft. I know, Deputy Milanovic and the chair, there'll be a presentation shortly, but definitely the province is looking at what opportunities they can do to help leverage the discussion with insurance companies, et cetera. So, I think we've definitely generated momentum in the discussion, Your Worship. So we're optimistic.
Sure.
Thank you, Chief, and through the chair. On a different note, and certainly one that we're incredibly proud about, everybody will be familiar with our annual Polar Plunge in support of Special Olympics. And we're going to be doing that this Saturday. Incredibly proud to announce that our service is going to be the first in Canada to have achieved over $100,000 in fundraising for that event. So, I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank the members that were participating, the sponsors, and everybody that donated. And again, tune in on Saturday to see everybody do the Polar Plunge.
Thanks, Nick. And the Special Olympics is the charity of choice for Ontario policing, so we're appreciative of that.
And on that note, Chair Chath, if I could also thank the association. I've done a number of polar dips, and this is the only one where there's a hot tub after the polar dip. So they take good care of all the jumpers. I'm looking forward to jumping again for this fundraiser. Association does an incredible job, and it's such a great fundraiser. And Chief, the fact that you get all your deputies to do it too is quite a feat.
Sure, Chief, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And then just before I pass it on to Staff Superintendent McKenna on an operational update, I just want to first acknowledge that Staff Superintendent McKenna is days away from retirement and after a remarkable career here at Peel Police. And just want to acknowledge that he has been a great point of stability for this organization in the last several years that I've been here. Sean, thank you for bringing that sense of, stability and calmness as, probably one of the largest uniform operational portfolios there is in this country under his command and Deputy Andrews. So, Sean, thank you for that. And this will be his last board meeting with us. So, Sean, on behalf of the entire organization, thank you.
Thanks very much, Chief. Thanks for the kind words. So I'm here to provide an update on our, well, yeah. Oh, we're not done yet. Oh, sorry.
Please go ahead.
Thanks, Chief. Again, thanks very much for those kind words. It's been a fantastic 35 years, and I've been privileged to be a member of this fine organization for so long, and it means a lot to me that you mention that. So on to the business at hand. I've got an update. As we come into the warm season, we understand that stunt driving and street racing are a primary concern to the members of our community. So with that being said, in addition to our annual participation in, JFO race programs, this year's being run by Toronto Police, we're looking to, further refine our approach to stunt driving and street racing. And with that in mind, what we've done is we've proactively identified 10 locations throughout the region where we anticipate street driving, stunt racing activity emanates from. And what we are doing on April 3rd, we're having a property management meeting with all the individuals and stakeholders associated to those properties. We're including our Brampton bylaw partners, our City of Mississauga bylaw partners as well, to participate in this meeting and provide the property owners and managers with some tools that will enable them to assist us in our, ability to combat this ongoing problem. We'll be providing SEPTED presentations for each of these properties and giving them some tips and assistance on how they can address some of the issues that emanate from those locations. So just in relation to street racing as a whole, our race project, which runs from May until October every year, has been tremendously successful. And I just want to bring to the board's attention the fact that over the course of between 2021 and 2022, we saw a 42% decrease in the number of calls for service for street racing. We don't want to always rely just on the numbers, but I can tell you that this is a tremendous impact these initiatives have made, and we understand that this is a real concern for our community and for our service, and we'll continue to adjust our approach as we move forward.
Mayor Brown, please.
Thank you, Chair Chath. I just want to say, Sean, on behalf of the city of Brampton, thank you. I know Gary Collins in my office has probably harassed you more than anyone else at the Peel Police when there's community issues. And it's because, yes, and it's because you're so effective and so prompt, and you find solutions. And I think this is a big loss, not having you, but if anyone deserves retirement, it's you. And so I just want to say how grateful we are for your years of service. And I've asked the chair, and he says we have no authority to prohibit you from retiring, but if we could, we'd want to. So just a big thank you. And on your last update on street racing, we get a ton of complaints about street racing. And when I saw the stats last year, which, by the way, I think you probably shared with Gary, that's how I think I got them, the success you've had in terms of cars being impounded and some of the horrendous driving, and it's a few bad apples that cause nightmares for everyone else in the community. But the police have had an incredible record of success dealing with some of those bad apples. Let's find a way to communicate that better. I'm not too sure if there's social tiles we can highlight, we could all share in terms of the amount of cars impounded for street racing. Let people know, let residents know in Peel that we take this seriously, and there's consequences. And when I've shared the stats that you shared with us last year, people that were frustrated about street racing were so happy to hear the results, a big sense of relief that there is consequence for that behavior. So thank you for that last update. It's so important, and thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Just as a note, between the 1st of March and the 23rd of March, we laid 90 stunt driving charges alone in Peel.
Thank you. So just wanted to congratulate you on your retirement. I hope you got the gold watch with the diamond studs around it last night. Certainly, this is an issue we've spoken about in Mississauga as well. The stunt driving in particular, Westwood Mall, Heartland, many places, but the street racing in Port Credit, Erin Mills Parkway, and the side streets Ridgeway around Erin Mills. I mean, unfortunately, no city is immune to this, so we really appreciate the work that's being done. It's just reckless and dangerous behavior, and these seem to be not or casually organized groups that commit. They probably have a WhatsApp chat group where they're meeting and what they'll be participating in, because our fine board member here, Al Boughton, tells us about the classic car shows he goes to, but they're not doing those kind of stunt drivings in the parking lot. They wouldn't want to harm those beautiful cars. So I wonder if we've been able to penetrate some of their methods of communicating with one another, so we're abreast of where they're targeting next.
We certainly have, and I can tell you, Your Worship, that we've already identified a number of targets, and we understand that street racing nowadays in the GTHA is an organized activity, and they connect through various means: social media, WhatsApp, chat groups. I don't want to give away any tricks of the trade, but nonetheless, that is the focus of the JFO that we, again, will be participating in. This is going to be our 5th consecutive year doing so, and that has been tremendously successful in identifying and getting to the root causes of the issues, the organizers, who make these types of activities, possible.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Sean, for that. And I thank the board for acknowledging Sean's specific retirement milestone. But there's a little bit more in the tank here. And I hope this doesn't sound like it's a mass exodus. But Rob Shearer has announced, and he will be retiring. Probably he's going maybe 7 days technically after Sean McKenna. So Rob has been a remarkable individual, I think we all know, and has been stewarding sort of the innovation facilities, infrastructure projects the last short while for us. And he will be, been in an acting staff super role, but will be retiring with the confirmed rank of staff superintendent. So I want to congratulate Rob for 35 years of outstanding service to this community. And I just wanted to draw that to your attention too.
Thank you, Chief, and it's my sincere thank on behalf of the board to both Sean McKenna and Rob Shearer. I remember my days when I first got onto the board, and Sean, being you, the superintendent for 22 Division, the busy one, and numbers of conversations with you, and Rob, you being at the headquarters, both of you phenomenal, and thank you for walking me through at the process when I was new, and till date, I would pick up the phone and talk to both of you. What a great inspirations for the young new officers both of you are. Sincere thanks to you both on behalf of the board. Really appreciate and looking forward to be in touch in the future. So having said that, I would also quickly like to acknowledge President Woolley from PRPA here. President, on behalf of this board, our sincere condolences not only to the association and throughout the family. The two officers lost their life in Edmonton, to their family and friends. It's tough and sad times, and as a board, we are there to support whatever we can to all our phenomenal officers. Thank you. And now we move on to, is there any other board member have any question or announcement to make? Hearing none. Item number first, we have the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on Friday, February 24th. May I have if there's no question, then may I have a mover and seconder to approve by Mr. Boughton, seconded by, I would take Mayor Crombie. All in favor? This is carried. Now we will move on to the deputations. The item number 2.1, our first deputation is written submission by Men Battered by Police Group on the topic of free speech, thoughts, belief and opinion under Canada's Human Rights Charter and Civil Right Protection. Is that in person or?
No, that's just a written deputation.
Okay, so we have the written, but no one is here in person for that, but we have in our agenda, and it's been posted as well. So any question or any comment in regards to that for board member? If not, then I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to receive this deputation. May I take a mover and seconder, please? Mr. Boughton, you're moving, and seconded by Mayor Crombie. All in favor? This is carried. The next item is there's another deputation but cancelled, unable to attend this morning as they have notified to our board staff. So maybe in the future at some point we will, if they wishes to come again, and we will put them into the schedule. The item number, we'll move on to the presentations. The item number 3.1, the presentation, Peel Regional Police Auto Theft Summit. We definitely want to talk about this. Before we introduce the presenters, I would like to thank everyone involved in planning an Auto Theft Summit held on March 10th. As a first of its kind gathering of stakeholders necessary to work on solutions to address the growing concerns, we had 7 police chiefs, mayors, board chairs, MPs and MPPs, as well as key stakeholders from a wide variety of industries responsible for the prevention and enforcement of auto thefts. Deputy Milanovic will speak to this outcome in greater detail, but we want the community to know how important this issue is to the board and police service. And it will remain a top priority for this board. With that, I would like to ask Chief to announce the presenters, but quickly, on a personal note, I would like to thank our board staff, Stefania and Angela and Rob Serpe, for assisting, and as well as the number of people from PRPA, Chief, to you and Deputy Milanovic and everybody involved. Both the mayors were there for most of the time, and so as the board members. What a phenomenal day we had, and the discussions among stakeholders to address the situation in a better way. Chief, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just turn it right over to Deputy Milanovic, please.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. And through the chair, what I would like to do is begin with reciprocating that thanks. You know, this was a first of a kind. This hasn't been done anywhere else. On that day alone, we achieved a reach of over 1 million. And I really believe if it wasn't for your interest, Chair, the interest of Mayors Crombie and Mayors Brown, and really our entire Police Service Board in pulling together this auto summit, it wouldn't have had the results that it ended up having, and certainly wouldn't have established, I guess, our path forward. So in a second, I'm going to introduce Acting Inspector Jason Colavecchia to provide some of the outcomes, but very generally, there were 3 basic strategies that we arrived at, and I think everybody agreed on us needing to be more invested in. Of course, one of them was enforcement. And you've heard me say before, we are one of the only police services with a centralized auto theft unit. Thankfully, with the chief's approval, we are going to be adding another investigative team to that unit. So more resources in the area of enforcement. The second strategy that came out of the summit was the need to collaborate with industry stakeholders, leaders, and make sure that we have the right people engaged in coming up with solutions, because enforcement alone is not enough. And then the third, of course, is prevention. Yeah, again, just really excited about the path that auto summit has started for us. And it's not the end. It is absolutely the beginning of addressing one of the top priorities of our community. So with that, I'll pass it over to Acting Inspector Jason Colavecchia.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chief Milinovich, and through you, Chair, good morning, everyone. Thank you to the members of the board and CMG and Chief Duriapa for allowing me to present today on the 2023 Auto Theft Summit. I'd like to echo those comments that the Chair made and Deputy Milinovich in regards to the support staff from the board and the organization themselves. It was a great overall collaborative group effort, and then it looks like in all opinions that it was a great event. This gives me an opportunity to table the recommendations and the outcomes from the summit. It was in regards to a motion that was presented in the spring of 2022, April 29th, that the board and their vision and their understanding of the critical, unfortunate systemic issues that resulted in organized auto crime and auto theft in carjackings in the region to spike considerably, not only in the region, but along with the province of Ontario. And it was that vision and that understanding that supported a bigger scaled operational commanders meeting that we had collectively as a group in February. It was the catalyst for bringing that momentum forward for all policing agencies and industry stakeholders. Just a recap of the event, it was held in Toronto and resulted in several local GTHA policing agencies along with mayors, regional chairs, police service board members, and industry stakeholders. Community advocates through numerous industry collaborative events led to this event that was a clear, tangible outcomes and actions that were going to move us forward at this Auto Theft Summit. Thank you to Chief Demke for hosting us in Toronto. It was a great event from their end, and the communication that resulted after was nothing but accolades for the chair's vision and understanding of the clear government concerns at the summit. We, along with our industry stakeholders, discussed strategies and identified trends to share these best practices. The topics of discussion included opportunities to address technical issues from the industry, from the automakers, along with maybe some unfortunate shortcomings from a policing perspective that were addressed over the course of several months. We all came together to address the operational concerns at a GTHA operational commanders meeting in February. We all developed as a collective group a mission statement. Collectively, the disruption and dismantling of auto theft enhanced those enforcement measures and addressed the vulnerabilities that auto thefts were conducted with these multiple sector stakeholders. That ended up leading to several groups bringing forward the industry collaborative methods that used all those identified facts and concerns. The global automaker manufacturers were very helpful in addressing some of the concerns that we had moving forward, which resulted in Canada being pretty much a source country for organized auto crime. This also addressed the concerns that we had as three groups. The first being fraud, drugs, and now organized auto theft as being the revenue generators for organized crime. These weren't anecdotal thoughts or an understanding. This was statistics that were proven. As a collective group, we got together and brought this forward to the Auto Theft Summit group. 27,809 vehicles stolen in 2022 alone. That clearly was a view along the collective that it was increasing significantly.
Sorry, Jason, and if I could just jump in there, there are a couple of things in that slide and the one prior that I would like to highlight. First being that Canada is and has become a source country of exported stolen vehicles. I think that that bears a moment to reflect on. And then the other is the idea that organized crime, organized auto theft is now one of the top revenue generators of organized crime. So it's not just stolen cars that we're talking about. This slide particularly, again, for Canada, organized auto theft is an issue, but what we learned through the summit and some of the collaboration is it is an issue that is predominant in Ontario, specific to the greater Toronto-Hamilton area. We're more deeply affected than anywhere else in the country. So I would just like to highlight that. Apologies for interrupting, Jason.
No, it's okay. So along with those stats specific to our region, as you can see, we have a per capita stolen rate of 3.6, 118% increase from 2021. The significant numbers of value in recovered vehicles is 93 million for the region alone. So as you can see, the vision from the board brought all these industry and government partners together. These participants were from not only the federal and provincial government, but the Solicitor General's Office, the Canadian Border Services, and along with several others. This assisted with tabling some of the three enforcement pillars that we as a group had put forward to the Auto Theft Summit Collective. So these three pillars of enforcement through enhancement of multi-jurisdictional joint forces units and to disrupt auto crime, the collaboration through multi-sectorial executive working groups, and awareness to raise public awareness on how the public can protect themselves against auto theft. What ultimately resulted in the end of this summit was the panel presentation, our presentations, the chats with the chiefs, and we identified three strategic priorities to expand on our pillars. And we see a strategic priority one is enhanced enforcement through provincial multi-jurisdictional auto theft units. As you can hear from Deputy Chief Milinovich, bringing forward the fact that Peel Region is now doubling our unit size is a great opportunity to collectively work with other agencies moving forward in this space. We've had a successful recent investigation, Project R&R, with collaboration through CBSA. And the ultimate outcomes of that is enhancing the coordinated efforts of the group. Again, this is not a single jurisdictional issue. This is multi-jurisdictional, transnational. We have heard through the chief and the chair and other members of the board that Canada has become this source destination. They are using the ports to export these the vehicles and the other opportunities for distribution through the United Emirates and other countries like Morocco and Malta. Strategic priority number two, establishing the multi-sectoral executive working group. That was a kind of a shared responsibility across the board from everybody. We heard that through David Adams, Brian Gast of Equite, and along with Elliot Silverstein of the CAA. They all understood that they have a role to play in this, and they would like to move forward with participation in the executive working group. So the outcomes will ultimately using to reduce any of the vulnerabilities that could be contributing to the prevalence of organized auto theft. And we have commitment from those groups. Obviously, strategic priority number three, we got to raise public awareness for our citizens and our community. These actions will ensure that our community is aware of the enforcement opportunities that are available to the police, the executive working group and the findings from that executive working group, along with strategic priorities through the City of Brampton, City of Mississauga. And in order to get better reach to our community, we need to have awareness for them. So out of that recap was a video, and I'll play that in a minute, that kind of highlights some of the high-level results of the Auto Theft Summit.
Sorry, Jason, and just before you do that, leading into this presentation, one of the things that I mentioned was this was the first of its kind. I say that not because of the number of chiefs, mayors, and chairs, and really high-level leadership from the variety of communities that were there. That in itself was incredibly impressive, but what Jay just went through was a strategic plan to begin addressing auto theft. And that leadership from that room and what led into that summit is what contributed to that. And so now we have a plan where we've brokered and facilitated agreement from a variety of different services on how we can begin addressing what is ultimately a huge priority for our community and others, which is auto crime.
Thank you, Deputy. I'll just hit play.
The auto theft epidemic is a crisis, not just here in Ontario, but what we're seeing nationally.
Enforcement alone is not enough. It needs to be coupled with education, community awareness, and prevention.
It's these ones that are targeted by organized crime, destined for Montreal and different places that the organized criminals are making millions of dollars from.
It's a shared responsibility, not just among our stakeholders, among our chiefs, among our boards and our elected officials, but the community plays a key role in that.
So as you can see in the video, some of the key outcomes and development of the partnerships and collaboration between law enforcement and the industry organizations is focused on the dissemination of information to the public in an effort to provide strategies on how to better protect themselves from vehicle thefts. The way forward and into the future, we've identified 5 key items to continue and move forward the initiative. Continued advocacy with the government officials. I'm pleased to tell you that we've reached out to numerous industry participants who have shown commitment to moving forward with assisting us in all of these. So the Ministry of Transportation, OMVIC, CBSA, and again, I mentioned Project R&R. As you can see, their partnership and collaboration in that investigation resulted in some significant returns. We also have the OPP putting forward recommendations for a multi-jurisdictional enforcement action for law enforcement. We have the Canadian Finance and Leasing Association putting together a backgrounder for the public, and we'll be privy to that information as it moves forward. We understand that Brian Gast from Equite has been in communication with the Ontario Associations of Chiefs of Police and are pushing initiatives in that format. We also have the Ministry of Transportation reviewing registration processes as they move forward in an effort to modernize some of the old public awareness and distribution items. As we move forward with translation of documents, we're currently in the process of kind of manipulating our recommendations document to go onto our Peel Regional Police website to have it translated in 132 languages for the public. We also are working to identify some of the most prevalent languages spoken in our community so we can easily translate the hard copy version of our recommendations for distribution to the public. From that, the executive working group, we have scheduled future meetings in hopefully within a month or so that we can grab all our industry partners and stakeholders. At this time, it looks like it's going to be virtual, but the original participating law enforcement agencies have also reached out to their second parties and industry stakeholders to help assist us with that. The summit feedback is in its end stages. It closes today, and we're hoping to get that analyzed so that we could provide that information to the board. 97% were satisfied at this time as a quick preliminary response of 36 people out of the 86 non-law enforcement attendees. 97% also agreed to speak. The speakers were informative, and 94% agreed to the fact that opportunities for networking were great. The multi-jurisdictional organized theft analysis. So this is something that it's taken some time to put together, but I believe that it's an opportunity for further advancement, an opportunity for industry stakeholders to get statistics immediately. This was provided to us by our analytics unit with some pretty significant work done in the background. Ultimately, the goal of this is to have all the participating agencies put forward all their statistics immediately, and it has maybe a week of a turnaround information so that that can get out to other jurisdictions and agencies to help and assist with targeting certain areas or vehicle makes and models. So again, it looks a little busy on the screen, and I apologize for that. It is a work in progress, but ideally what this would look like is something of a provincial dashboard where participating police agencies can put forward the information to action accordingly. And so again, unless the deputy has anything he wants to top up, we really appreciate the board's vision and momentum in creating this opportunity for the organization and our provincial partners, along with our industry stakeholders. One of the key themes that we left the summit with was enhanced enforcement measures require a multi-sectoral approach, and it's ultimately going to be a shared responsibility as a group. And thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate your presentation, and thank you, Deputy, and thank you, Chief. Before I open the floor for the speakers from the board or the Chief, I would just like to say at the end, as we agreed, that not only the because we had a number of board members from the different boards as well, especially from GTHA, either the board chair or the other board members. The conversation will be continue among as a board, and we will be doing and providing. We're committed to provide each and every tool as a board, not just the PSB, but the other boards as well for their services. So I'm personally looking forward as a board chair, and so as the board members, to be in touch with the other boards. So how it's not just us here, so everyone can participate, and we need to continue to provide the tools. With that, one of the amazing number, and I just double check with Chief, it come to as we saw other day about the project R&R, that Peel Police seized over 500 vehicle in just first 2 months of this year. What a remarkable number that is, Chief. So congratulations, and thank you for your leadership. On that, I know you will speak at some point, but I have listed speakers. First, I have Mayor Brown, then I have Mr. Atia, and then I have Mr. Boughton in the list to speak, and then Mayor Crombie. So Mayor Brown, you're first. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you for the presentation today, and thank you, Chief Nish and Deputy Chief Milinovich, for your leadership on this. It really was incredible to see, and Chair Chatha for moving this motion at the board. It was incredible to see your colleagues, chiefs of police from across the country, gathering together. When we get feedback from residents, sometimes there's a sentiment, this is only happening in our neighborhood. It's happening everywhere. And the solutions are not necessarily local, they're national solutions. So when someone says, I can't believe that my neighborhood's the one where cars are being stolen left, right, and center, when mayors get together, when chiefs of police get together, we realize this really is a crisis in Canada right now, where we've become a source country for stolen vehicles. And that became abundantly clear at the summit. I mean, you look at those stats, we're in York Region since 2019, up 134%. In Peel Region, it's 97%. Montreal, 120%. Every major city in Canada is struggling with this. I believe it was the deputy chief who shared the feedback that this is the top 3 revenue source for organized crime. You know, when I met with the Minister of Public Safety, Minister Mendicino, with the deputy chief, and his initial responses were very focused on guns. I think we've actually had a powerful argument to make that it's great the federal government is focused on guns, but what do you think organized crime does when this is their top 3 revenue source? It allows more guns to be on our street. We have to get this right. And I think Peel right now is leading the conversation in Canada. I thought it was particularly helpful that we had CBSA attend the conference. I know they weren't on the panel, but they were there. When you hear that 99% of containers are not physically inspected, that's one of the biggest reasons why we're a source country for stolen cars. Having the manufacturers at the conference was very helpful. They know they have to do more. And we have that conversation now happening with them. But to hear their response that in some of their vehicle categories, the number of stolen cars in the US, despite having 10 times the population, is the same as the number in Canada, speaks to some of the weaknesses we have on cars being so easily exported out of our country. But whenever we make this pitch, we're making this pitch to the provincial government, whether it's an insurance change, whether it's the federal government with CBSA, the starting point has to be, we've done everything we can locally. That's the starting point. We're not taken seriously when we're asking for other levels of government to make investment if we can't go to the table saying we've done everything. That 70 new officers that we're adding in 2023 is a commitment that we're taking this seriously. But what I was so encouraged to hear today was when Deputy Chief Milovich mentioned we're doubling the auto thefts unit. That's what our residents want to hear. You know, when we announced the 70 new officers, one of the first questions I got is how many of them are going to help with auto thefts? I remember sitting with the association in the fall. We're talking about the importance of public safety. And Adrian, I look up at you and I remember your response. He said, we need to see that unit tripled. So a doubling is a great start in year one. I just want to thank you for taking this so seriously. But this is what I hear from my residents. Frustration. Frustration that their peace of, their peace of mind is shattered when a car is stolen, that they've got private belongings that have been taken. It's not just the car, it's their sense of safety. And I think we're going to be one of the reasons that Canada solves this, because of Chief Nish's leadership. And I just hope we can keep our foot on the pedal on auto theft, so we can put the brakes on auto thefts and solve this. I'm hearing about this more than any other public safety issue right now in the city of Brampton, and I'm very pleased that I can now report that help is on the way and progress is happening. And I guess the question would be, how quickly is that doubling of the unit going to happen?
Deputy, thank you, Mayor Brown. Deputy, you want a quick comment on this?
Thank you, and through the chair, it's interesting. I think that question was asked to me by the chief, and the answer will probably be similar: as fast as possible. So I don't anticipate it'll take very long at all, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Attia, please.
Thank you for the presentation. This issue has been boiling for some time now. So I think I want to start by thanking the chair for envisioning this summit at a time where this whole thing was going to blow up, and it brought the right people in the room. Clearly, I have a couple questions to the deputy chief. You highlighted the identifying the fact that this is a Canada and particularly Ontario are a source for this issue. Can you explain further as to why? And then the second question is, since the summit has a CBSA or the auto manufacturers or the insurance companies, have any of them come forward with commitments to doing anything different to address this matter? Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that question. And through the chair, my explanation of why Ontario would be one of the hotspots in the country would primarily revolve around the value and types of vehicles that other countries are interested in obtaining. You know, from a population ratio perspective in the GTA, the top 5 vehicles or the vehicles that are more often targeted are abundant here. You combine that with logistics, proximity to ports, and really some gaps that we share here provincially and nationally. It almost becomes a few different parts of an equation which equal, unfortunately, Ontario, more specifically the GTA, being largely targeted over and above other areas of the country. And then in relation to your other question, we've you know, over the course of pulling together the Auto Summit, we've had what I would say is some very genuine commitment from manufacturers, from industry stakeholders to be a part of the solution. I really believe that they're interested in helping us advocate for changes and to begin addressing some of those gaps that we know are resulting in those thefts. You know, I think it would be naive of me to think that some of the pressure and some of the momentum that's been created through, you know, the Auto Theft Summit and the work and advocacy of our leadership hasn't had a role to play in that. But I'm really hopeful that they are going to continue to be a part of it. And I don't know if, Jay, you wanted to expand on some of those more formal commitments from some of those organizations, but we have had them agree to it.
Thank you, Deputy, and through you, Chair. Yes, we had commitment through the auto manufacturers, David Adams. We've had commitment through Brian Gast. We've spoken to the MTO, OMVIC, and several other parties, and they're all very excited to join our partnership and work into the future for further collaboration for specifically organized auto theft. I understand that the MTO is remodernizing and reviewing some of their policies, and that should be very helpful for the province specifically. From a transnational view, we will have partnership with the CBSA, and we're reaching out to the Montreal Police. They were present at the summit, and they were huge advocates of what we're trying to do here in Ontario, and they would like to further their cooperation and collaboration with us. So yes, the answer is across the board, everybody is willing to participate, and now it's just a matter of us enforcing, you know, and calling everyone to task and working together on further actions.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Mr. Attia. Next, we have Mr. Boughton.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to you and the Chief and Deputy Chief Milenovich for the summit. It was fantastic. I was happy to attend, and this is a first step, and for sure is not one and done because there's a lot of work to do. So just a couple of comments on MTO. Where you go and get your licenses and all that stuff done, they're all franchises now, right? Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them are. And we've read about some corruption at that level, which hasn't been useful. In my opinion, there's areas where the government shouldn't go to the private sector to save money or download costs. That's one of them. I don't think we're doing as good a job as we could do with MTO, with franchises. I think we'd be much better with government people running that, and that's just a comment from me. The other thing that I know, just because I'm a car collector and see what happens in the United States, when there's VIN numbers in many of the jurisdictions in the United States, when a VIN has been tampered with a car, and I can tell you this from the Corvette world, they seize the car and they crush it. There's no, and it's crushed in 7 days. So if something happens and you've ended up with a bad car because of that, you better be moving really quickly, because if you can't prove that it's legitimate and it's a bad serial plate, they just crush the car. So there are some methods that you can do to stop that. I asked a question at the summit, and representation was there from the Canadian auto manufacturers, whatever. And I asked the question, and he gave a really nice speech, but he didn't answer the question. because I specifically asked about disabling devices that are available. And it happened that week with my accountant, and her car had been stolen and or was attempted to be stolen and didn't leave. She talked about disabling devices that were there, and the dealership said, "Oh, you can't put that on. Your warranty is null and void the minute that you put that on." I got that confirmed through another manufacturer as well before I came to the conference, because I didn't want to make it just one manufacturer. And I understand that's pretty consistent with the manufacturers, that they're going to void your warranty if you put a disabling device on, which to me makes no sense whatsoever. I understand the manufacturer's going to say, "Oh, you're interfering with the computer on the car," but I think there are methods that the manufacturers can do better. If we all look at what every kid from 6 years old on, and all of us carry around in our hands, and some people with two, look at the technology to not get into your computer, facial recognition and all that. Go onto your computer and all of a sudden you can't get on. You put your password in and then it says, "We've sent you a text and you got to verify and do all that." There's so much technology that's available to help us in the computerized and high-tech world. And I don't think the manufacturers are as interested in helping us as we think that they are. I think they could do a lot better. And I think, as for what the summit showed, is that it is a first step, but we need to put a lot of pressure on them to say, that's enough. That's enough of this. That we need to, they need, along with us, we need to find a better way, and they can be very, very helpful on this. So I think we need to press them on that as part of the step going forward. And as I stated again at the conference, as you know, the Port of Montreal is porous on its very best day. It's a porous port, and that, along with New Jersey, are well known in the transportation industry as having a level of corruption that contributes to these cars being able to be exported more easily than we think they should be. So I think we need to work on that as well, and I know there's some eyes on that. But again, to Chair, to you, the Chief, and Deputy Milinovic, a job really well done, and it is a first step. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Boughton. Chief, you would like to comment?
Yes, just very quickly. Thank you, Mr. Boughton, for the comments, and to Acting Inspector Colavecchio, and we've got Detective Haywood here at the back from our commercial auto unit. Thank you for the work. We can assure you that I think that the conversations that we're having with manufacturers is optimistic. It's the insurance companies as well. It's another space. We know that in the province of Quebec, there are insurance incentives for consumers if they utilize aftermarket tracking devices and whatnot. So part of the issue, I think, and I know we have members from representatives from the province here today. My conversation with Minister Kersner was, is there an opportunity here in Ontario to explore the regulatory side of insurance companies? The Financial Services Regulatory Authority of Ontario is the act that causes insurance providers, can encourage insurance providers to provide rebates to consumers. So this is one thing that we're looking and is a direct outcome of some of the conversations that happened 2 weeks ago.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we have Mayor Crombie to speak.
Yeah, thank you. I'll keep it brief because everyone has already said much of the relevant things. But to you, Mr. Chair, this was you were the genesis of this. You saw the problem. I mean, we all discussed it, but you said we needed to get the relevant authorities into one room and have this discussion and take action. So I want to thank you. And of course, Nick stepped up, and we thank you. You were the organizing force behind it. The two of you are leaders in this. And of course, as Mayor Brown has said, this is the meat and potato issues that we hear about from our residents. It really affects their sense of well-being, sense of safety. If you've ever had a break-in or your car stolen, I actually have twice, but not here, actually, elsewhere. There is that sense of violation you feel violated. Why are they in my private personal space and amongst my things? And that sense of helplessness. So it's very difficult, but I'm very proud of the leadership role that we are taking. And I think that was acknowledged when when we had 8 chiefs in the room coming together of their brain power. It'd be interesting to work more closely with Montreal as that port of exit and what more can be done on inspection of outgoing containers, just not incoming. I will say that I think we need to do more as soon as possible. We need a bit of an awareness campaign to educate our residents on what more they can do. I mean, we're approaching it from the other side. What can the auto manufacturers can do, CBS, Canadian Border Services can do, et cetera. But what about the consumer, the resident? What can they do to better protect themselves? And, we talked about covering up VIN numbers and using those Apple tags, and even those old-fashioned steering arm locks are proving somewhat effective in hiding their fobs or wrapping them in tinfoil when they're not using them. So lots, maybe you want to correct me if I'm giving bad advice, because I'm sure that will get picked up. So more we can do from an education campaign to our residents on how they can better protect themselves. And then the question arose as well is, since we've seen this uprise in behavior, what was it, 86%? And we've just recently celebrated, actually, Project R&R for recovering 78 vehicles, value of $10 million. What about those criminals? They've been charged and then they're released, and then they go out and do it again. What about penalties being more stringent for these individuals involved in these kinds of rings? Because we know that there are corollary actions being taken, that they're involved in multiple levels of crime, not just auto theft. It's related to guns and gangs and carrying illegal weapons, and could be even human trafficking. This is a very complex matter, not just auto thefts. And so I think I'd like to turn to the province or the federal government to understand, how we advocate for more stringent penalties once we capture these individuals, as we announced that we did on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Crombie, and thank you for your leadership, and Mayor Brown, on behalf of both the cities, for taking this matter and continuously pushing at every level, at the province or at the federal level, and of course acknowledging at the board and working for these solutions. Thank you very much. Anybody else wishes to comment or any? Sorry, Mayor
Just so
Crombie.
from advocacy standpoint, what are next steps for us? Should we actually author a letter on what these criminals that are engaged in auto theft, but also guns and gangs, illegal weapons, etc. And then finally, maybe some concrete steps on how we do bring more awareness to our community at a minimum. What are those steps that we will provide? Is it a social media campaign? What will we do to help assist people to protect themselves?
Deputy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Any opportunity we can develop a more formal strategy for awareness, that is going to be incredibly helpful, because we have, the reality is there are so many, I guess, soft spots in the continuum which result in a car being stolen from somebody's driveway. We really need to begin filling all of those gaps. And one of the issues is awareness and a person's ability to protect themselves. So a prevention strategy is a great idea. We've had conversations with some of the manufacturers and said to them, well, you send recall notices to people. You send notices about vehicles that they've purchased. Is there an opportunity to include preventative messaging in the GTA? So we're looking at a number of different ways that we can better communicate to larger platforms. And that's part of one of the reasons why we're so excited about this summit. And then in terms of legislation, definitely, I believe there are some very concrete things that we could use your collective advocacy and your advocacy to ask for, because it's not just vehicle theft. It's not just the charge that's laid. I think that generally speaking, people don't interpret property crime in the same way in which it affects our community, and there are things that we could do in that space, and would be very happy to work with the board in order to achieve some of those things.
What about in their car insurance statements, tips to better protect themselves?
Again, another great idea. In dealerships, Jade mentioned we'd had conversation with national organizations that provide financing and leasing. Again, another opportunity to share preventative messaging, which we help develop and hopefully isolate our community members from people that are coming from other jurisdictions shopping for our cars. Really, that's what they're doing.
Perhaps I can top this up for you, Deputy, through the chair. The CAA, that was an idea brought forward through David Adams from the Global Automakers of Canada. So we wouldn't have known that as a policing agency, the reach that they have, 6 million people.
Thank you. Mayor Crombie, that was actually really good that you added, but we were already thinking about it, but thank you for bringing it. So I just quickly talked to Chief. I think we are looking here to write down a joint letter between Chief and the board to not only thanking all the police services who participate, and also to both the level of governments with the outcome and the recommendations, if we can attach. And to your point, if they can obviously re-evaluate the tougher sentences or the penalties especially for these repeat offenses or the crime we made in related to auto thefts industry, because that's the one of the big revenue for the organized crime coming back to the communities and the society. With that, if anybody else wants to make any comment, you're more than welcome. If not, I would like to receive this recommendation. I need a mover and seconder. Moved by Mr. Button, seconded by Mr. Atia. All in favor? And this is carried unanimously. Thank you very much for your presentation, and thanks to you, Deputy and Chief. With that, we have next presentation is Peel Regional Police Leadership Development Program. Chief, would you like to introduce the presenter?
Sure, I'll just hand it to Deputy Chief DePatt, please.
Thank you, Chief, and through the chair, good morning, board members. I've asked Acting Inspector Faraz Ismail and Constable Ashley Kimlin from our Corporate Learning and Development Bureau to provide a highlight on a new program that's been developed, which will be launching on April 3rd. It's the launch of the Leadership Development Program, and it's in keeping with our commitment to not just hire the best in class for our police service, but it's also to enhance the quality of their skill sets beyond just what they're learning at the Ontario Police College to become a police officer. It really is to strengthen exactly what we've been talking about for a very long time when it comes to the quality of the service that we're delivering to the community. It starts from the inside. And the recognition from the team at Corporate Learning and Development was beyond just providing our officers and also our civilian members with the tools to do their job. It's also a recognition that we need to make investments in our people right from the moment that they are hired to the time that they retire, essentially. So I've asked Ish, who's very well known to the board, to come and provide the presentation, and I'm very proud to introduce Ashley Kimlin as well, who was instrumental in developing this program going forward.
Thank you very much, Deputy, and through the chair, thank you, Chief, members of our Central Management Group, and the Police Services Board for this opportunity. On the behalf of Corporate Development, we are proud and excited to just give you a bit of an overview and let you know about the soon-to-be operational Leadership Development Program and Office that is actually going to open its doors on April 3rd in about a week and a half or so. And To do that, we've just decided to just provide a bit of a quick overview as far as a roadmap, and we're going to keep it brief because we do know that you have been informed through the formative stages of the development of this program. This is certainly something that's been near and dear to the chief and our management team with respect to ensuring that we build internally and develop the capacity of our members to continue the leadership within this organization. Some of the early steps involved the development and the establishment of a leadership development advisory team that was made up of a cross-section of officers, various ranks throughout the organization that helped in the early stages inform what this could look like and discuss potential opportunities. And then it was followed up with some cohort training and influential leader opportunities that were, put together through opportunities to talk with Heather Clayton and her team, inclusive of the Women in Leadership Symposiums, senior leadership team training, and organization-wide formal and informal feedback opportunities, which allowed us to really understand what our members need, both civilian and sworn, in order to feel supported by the organization throughout their development journey with their time with Peel Regional Police. Please also know that all of this is foundationed in two philosophical pillars, and those are emotional intelligence and coaching. Those are important as we transition and transform the organization, and we expect that our leaders possess and, if not, develop those abilities so that we can better communicate, better relate, and better work with the members that we have to engage with daily. And then finally, just please know that anything that we do is created in a way that is adaptable. We understand that there's evaluation loops embedded in them, again, both formal and informal, where we expect our membership to provide us information as to how we can continue to grow, expand, evolve as we understand the needs of our organization. And we also understand the changing dynamic and landscape of the policing world that we're in. And that includes everything from curriculum selection, the adaptation, even the delivery. One thing we did learn from the pandemic is we can tell you that even the platform that we're creating, and my good friend Ash is going to certainly go through some of the details and nuances with you, is that it is pandemic proof. We have an ability to, for example, should we have to pivot, there's online opportunities to engage both personally. Much of the leadership development piece, again, will be transitioned to an online platform, inclusive of a connection with Ash and the team to be able to access certain resources and things of those kinds. So these are all pieces that we took into consideration when this was being developed. And of course, I can't end this introduction without, of course, paying homage to two individuals in particular that really led this and were the driving force of this from day one, and those are Staff Superintendent Dirk Niles and Constable Ash Kimlin, who have been pivotal from day one in really mobilizing and bringing this to life. And on that, I'm going to turn it over to Constable Ash Kimlin.
Thanks, Inspector, and thanks to each of you. You are all familiar with the critical few behaviors set out a couple years ago in the Culture Report. Me being here today in this very program are evidence of the great change that is underway at Peel Regional Police. Our people have asked, and CMG has actively listened and delivered. Here it is, but please remember this is just the beginning. The Leadership Development Program, or LDP, is framed within the mindset that mirrors the critical few behaviors. A mindset that treats everyone with equal care and respect, ensures our people are heard and know that they are valued, and seeking input and asking the questions while empowering our people to lead. This is in fact the vision of the LDP, to empower every person to lead. So how do we aim to accomplish this? By making leadership development voluntary. Leadership development needs to be a choice, available to all levels of our organization, whether civilian or sworn, and serving all of our people from hire to retire. Thank you. Oops. My apologies. So what does the LDP look like? It incorporates both formal and informal elements. There will be a robust online program, which we will see a brief video in a moment. Curated content will also be accessible actively and passively, and more centralized access to external leadership opportunities. We are looking to provide online access to the content of the great material leadership development that we already house, making it available to our people 24/7 as they are able. Back now to the online portion of the program. We've prepared a short video for you just to give you a sense of what the online content will look and feel.
To leadership development. It includes an online portion that is available 24/7 to our members, allowing them to leave and return as their circumstances permit. It is based upon the assumption that our people are tremendously capable and are also responsible in their own development. David Kolb reminds us that experience alone is not sufficient for learning. In order to learn, we must reflect. This program is interactive and allows our people to read and reflect on the material and apply it to their own experience. It also encourages them to dive deeper and explore a variety of available resources that they can then leverage in their development as leaders in our organization. The LD.
So in addition to this, we already have several resources in place. This toolbox continuum by design will be fluid and adaptable. These elements are also fully scalable. As mentioned in the video, our people are tremendously capable. We have internal subject matter experts and expertise, our leaders, who will not only benefit from these leadership development opportunities, but they will also be able to contribute their own lived experiences. We know we are better together. As such, we empower our people to lead and take a large role in continuing to grow and adapt this program to meet their needs in serving our community. Inspector.
Thank you very much, Ash. So just in conclusion, before we turn over to any feedback or questions that anybody may have, again, just please know that it is going to become operational on April 3rd. It will be foundationed with Ash at the helm, helping to facilitate, coordinate, and move many of these opportunities forward. It is intended, of course, to build that internal capacity, but isn't necessarily tied into promotion. This is above and beyond. This is an opportunity for all of our members to receive this to receive this development and be able to do it in their own time and at their own pace as well. We also understand that they have other responsibilities above and beyond their day-to-day responsibilities, and that, you know, we wanted to make sure that they had access to these training and this resources, inclusive of the online platform, when they do have that downtime and throughout the weekend or whenever it is that they have the time off to be able to, you know, engage and be a part of that work. And we talk about growth from within, and making sure that we also make sure that our members feel supported throughout their time with their organization. And as far as the resources, as Ash mentioned, obviously it's important to us that we continue to evolve, that we're adaptable, and that is something that we've layered in and will continue to do. And of course, all of this is foundationed with our members' wellness in mind. This is what we've heard from the membership. This has been a priority and a commitment of Chief Diriapa and the team and all of us internally to make sure that our members feel supported, are supported, and certainly can give back to this organization and the community that we serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ish. Thank you, Deputy, and thanks to you as well. Mayor Crombie, you are next to speak here.
Oh, I guess my light is a hangover from the last time, but just great work and thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. You wanna?
Yeah, thank you to Ish and Ash for Ish, Ash, and Ish. I don't know if but we've got so many things to train our people on. You know, there's legislated elements. There are ones that we're adapting to based on just things that have happened in the last 3 years. This is one space that we feel is extremely important. You know, you've heard us say, if we're not good on the inside, not good on the outside. It's not meant to be a cliche. We do really want to invest in our people in the best possible way. All 3,500 of them are what makes this organization so good. So thank you to you two for building this platform and curriculum.
Thank you, Chief. If no further discussion or comment, I would like to have a mover and seconder to receive the presentations by Mayor Brown, seconded by Mayor Crombie. All in favor? This is carried unanimously. And that concludes the public portion of People Services Board. We will adjourn for 5 minutes, but I would like to thank our board staff and the region staff to facilitate this meeting for the public. And we'll come back maybe less than 5 minutes if we're allowed, because so we can move forward quickly.